Good day, class. Today we are going to follow up on our topic of percentages, which is actually a pretty long topic. Today we are going to be calculating what percent, or creating a percent, or what is commonly known or nicknamed as is and of. Okay, so in using the whole aspect of is and of, we're going to show how that can be used to create a percent. So in the wording you will have is and you will have of. Is goes on top, of goes below, and then it creates a fraction. I'm going to repeat that. Is goes on top, of goes below, and that creates a fraction. After you create a fraction, to convert it to a percentage, we multiply by 100 over 1. Okay, so to look at the practicality of it, we need to look at examples. All right, so our first example, we are going to write down the question. Let me just erase this and write down the actual question as it appears. Calculate what percent. And number 1 would be, is 9 of 18. And the working for that would be, because we have is and we have of, again to remind you, is will go on top, of will go below, and we multiply it by 100 over 1. Okay, so to take that, and we're going to actually use the proper numbers that was given, which is 9 is and 18 is of. So 9 will go on top, 18 will go below, and then we multiply it by 100 over 1. So then we do our cross multiplication. So 9 into 9 is 1, 9 into 18 is 2, 2 into 2 1, 2 into 10 is 5, 2 into 0 is 0. So our answer would be 50%. Okay, so we look at another example. Number 2, we have is 12 of 36. So again we have is and we have of. 12 over 36 multiplied by 100 over 1. 12 into 12 1, 12 into 36 will be 3. So therefore we have 100 over 3. Three into 3 1, 3 into 10 is 3, remainder 1, 3 into 10 is 3, remainder 1 over 3. So we have 33 and a third percent. So we look at another example. Now by now 33 and a third percent here should start looking familiar to you. Alright, so sometimes even though it is a percentage, we can get a mixed number as a percentage. Alright, so if you get an answer like that, it doesn't mean that it is wrong, but most of your answers will start looking familiar. Like the numbers that you get would look familiar. It would not be a strange fraction. Like 33 and a third percent will eventually become one of those fractions that you get accustomed working with. So if we look at a third example, we have is 40 of 60. And again 40 will be is and 60 will be of. So 40 over 60 multiplied by 100 over 1. So we can use, last week I showed you how to use the zeros to cancel off, right? But you must have these zeros to work with, so you cancel off this 0 with this 0, okay? And then you have, we can use 2 because we have 2 even numbers here, so we can use 2. 2 into this is, into 4 is 2, 2 into 6 is 3. So we have no way that we can cross multiply again. So we have 2 multiplied by 100 will be 200 over 3. So we say 3 into 3 is 1, 3 into 20 is 6. Remainder 2, making this 20 as well. 3 into 20 is 6. And then we have a remainder of 2 over 3. Make sure to put your percentage sign. So we have 66 and 2/3%. Now those are a couple number, the example 2 and example 3 are actually two of the more difficult questions that you can come across when calculating or creating percentages. So we look at a fourth example. Is 20 of 100? So again, 20 is and 100 is of. 20 goes on top, 100 goes below, multiply by 100 over 1. Now again, I'm reminding you the reason for multiplying by 100 over 1 is to take the fraction that we have created and change it to a percentage. Okay, so that is the purpose of multiplying it by 100 over 1. So first we establish a fraction, which is 20 over 100, and then we convert it to a percentage by multiplying by 100 over 1. So again, I'm going to show you how to cross multiply by cancelling off your zeros. So you must have corresponding zeros, and then you have nothing else to cross multiply, so you remain with 20 by 1. So for some of you who still might misinterpret how you actually come up with your answers, if you have nothing below 1 by 1 is 1, but your answer would not be 20 over 1. The 1 there has no value, so basically your answer would be 20%. Okay, so we look at one more example. Number 5. And we have a worded question now. What percent of $2 is 50 cents? Now with this question, basically, you have two units. You have dollars and you have cents. You cannot use two different units when calculating anything in mathematics. You have to change the unit to a common unit. So we'll change the dollars into cents. Okay, so $2 is basically 200 cents. $2 is equal to 200 cents. And we have to establish what is and what is of. This question is stated differently, so you have to be very careful not to assume that the $2 is and the 50 cents is off. They say what percent of $2, so the $2 would go below as the denominator, and the 50 cents would be is would go as the numerator. And now that you have created a fraction, you multiply it by 100 over 1 to change it to a percentage. Okay, so we are going to cross multiply 0, 0, 0, 0. 2 into 2, 1, 2 into 50 is 25. So our answer is 25%. So we would be getting more questions like this, but before we do that, we have to do exercises on conversion, right? We have to do conversion of things like time, distance between meters and kilometers, and we also have to do conversion with weights, etc. All right, now in this tutorial we are supposed to also cover calculation of a percentage of a value. So calculating a percentage of a value, we look at a few examples as well. So our first example, 10% of 80. Now before we move on to this example, I want to remind students that in our last tutorial I did mention that there was a resemblance and a relationship between fractions and percentages. So students who are mindful of this might be able to get through with a lot of their questions easier, right? So what we are basically going to calculate is a part of 80, 80 being the whole and 10% being the part. Okay, so if we have to express 10% as a fraction, it would be 10 over 100. Of means to multiply, and 80, we put 80 over 1. Okay, so 10% of 80, and again we use our zeros, cancel off our zeros to cross multiply, and we end up with 8%. Sorry, we end up with 8 as our answer. So 10% of 80 is 8. We look at another example. %25 of 200. So again we create our percentage fraction, 25 over 100. Of means to multiply, of 200 over 1. So we have to learn how to divide in percentages using 25. I think I mentioned that in the last tutorial, that you should practice some of your timetables, like your 15 timetable, 20 timetable, 25 timetable, so you would be able to work fast for your examination. So 25 into 25 is 1, 25 into 100 is 4. Okay, the bigger numbers that you use, the faster you work and the more precise your answer would be. If you use small numbers, your working becomes crowded and it leaves room for error. So we still have room here to cross multiply, right? 4 into 4 is 1, 4 into 20 is 5, and 4 into 0 is 0. So our answer would be 50. So 25% of 200 is 50. Let us look at another example. %50 of 84. So again we put 50 over 100 multiplied by 84 over 1. We cancel off our zeros. 5 into 5 1, 5 into 10 is 2. 2 into 2 1, 2 into 8 is 4, 2 into 4 is 2. So our answer will be 42. Okay, so some of these are quite simple. So basically you follow the same method of the example. You put your percentage over 100, basically creating a fraction, and then you convert that, you multiply by the quantity. You multiply by the quantity that you want to calculate the percentage of. Okay? Right, so I hope that you all are able to understand, was able to understand what has been taught today. And please remember that this is a video tutorial, so that means you can rewind the tutorial, you can go back, you can pause, etc., and you can look at it while you are doing your assignments that would be posted on your classroom. Okay, so I hope that you all would be able to be successful in completing your assignments, and I look forward to correcting it during the course of this week.